Hey, it's Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. Joining me right now, I have Kirstie McCool. She is the Executive Director of GuideWell Innovation. So Kirstie, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so GuideWell Innovation, I'm going to level set for those who are like, what is this? This is the innovation arm of BlueCross BlueShield of Florida. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, and so GuideWell is now the holding company for the entire business. So explain to us how this all works. So if you're like a poor little startup out there in digital health land and is like, I want to do a deal with Blue Cross of Florida, this is their innovation person. How does it all connect?
Okay. Well, we start off we run quite a few programs that are focused on early stage companies, whether they be startups or scale ups. We run accelerators, we run challenges, we source companies from all across the U.S. Into our programs. And so the best way for them to get to us is to give my team a call, learn about our schedule, learn what we're working on. And see if there's an opportunity for them to participate and apply to our programs.
You guys have, it seems to evolve in themes. So I know you guys had talked a lot about aging in place, and you had a cohort of startups around that. So tell me a little bit about how you source those, the strategic direction, I guess, for these challenges that you run or the accelerator programs.
Absolutely. So we spend a lot of time working with our business units, our executive leadership team, and we come up with 2 or 3 themes a year that align with strategic focus areas we have as a company. And so the good news is for the startups is when they get selected for these programs, there's an eagerness within the company to work with them and to learn about what they're doing. But it's very much strategically driven from the top down.
Okay, and that's usually the hardest part is that, if you're a startup and you're coming into the organization, it's like having that size of an organization ready for you is really one of the biggest challenges. Absolutely. Can you give us a sneak peek of any of the strategic directions that are coming up for this year?
Absolutely. So we're right now, again, we're working on aging in place, family caregivers. Those are in play right now.
Okay.
We do have some showcase events and investor showcase summits coming up for that topic. So if you're a startup in that general space, give us a call. Now's a really good time.
Yeah.
And then later on this year, we will move into our next theme, which will be around health equity. And then we've got some other focus areas that we're working on right now because we're in strategic planning. But definitely health equities is for sure going to happen.
Say more about that, Kirstie. So what does that exactly mean to Florida Blue, to GuideWell?
So we are a mission-driven company. So for those who don't know, we're a not-for-profit. And so what's really cool about the work that my team does is we tend to align the tech innovation work with social issues. And so health equity, for those who don't know, there's just a huge disparity in health and access to health care in different communities and demographics here in the U.S. and of course, globally as well. And so as a company, we're really, really focused on reducing or eliminating that. And so if you're a tech company and you've got a solution to help bring healthcare into economically disadvantaged demographics, please give us a call.
I love that. And you have a background where you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor, and so but you're new to health. So tell me, you're new to health, and so give me, I guess, a little bit of an insight from with your fresh eyes on this industry. What have you seen that health startups are doing? Maybe let's focus on the positive and say, what are they doing well in terms of developing solutions that integrate technology, but for the greater purposes of kind of helping to improve outcomes or access of care? What are you seeing that these startups are doing well?
Well, they're innovating. And that's
Which is hard.
Yeah. So, and that's also the challenge for them, right? Because they're entering into a very risk-averse industry. Healthcare is conservative, right? To basically say, hey, fail fast and learn in the world of healthcare is a wait, what? moment for, a lot of senior leaders at healthcare organizations. And so, but the startups are, I think, the industry recognizes that change is underway. It's already happening. And so, either they're going to get on the train or the train's going to leave without them.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an interesting time to be here. It's unfortunate that it takes a while. So startups, need to be thinking through sustainability and, how they're going to fund themselves through that.
Right.
But the timing is good. So I think with the changes going on.
What's your advice? I want to ask you 2 ways on this. I want to ask your advice then for a startup that knows now they have to deal with this risk-averse population to work with a health plan, but they are innovative. They may have some tech that's a little bit scary, or that people that they're talking to in product or on some of these teams have no idea what they're talking about. What's your best advice for those startups?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of a selfish vested interest, I suppose, but most of the Blues plans across the country actually have innovation teams like ours. They all are slightly different in their approach, but I would definitely go find the innovators within the company. They are there. And what I've learned is that, most of these leaders want to change. They want to understand how. They may not know how. And so just, go in with a collaborative approach instead of a buy my stuff approach. I mean, startups are usually hungry and they tend to be a little aggressive about I need you to buy it now.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't have the runway to deal with the procurement process at a health plan.
But that gets back to thinking through your sustainability plan and making sure you understand what those processes are. And so the programs we offer actually spend a lot of time working with those entrepreneurs around what is the procurement process at an insurance company like? What are the regulatory realities that we have to deal with that startups need to understand so that they can come in, armed with data and things that we need in order to meet our compliance issues. So.
On the other side of that, internal to the organization, there's a lot of educating that needs to be done there as well because innovation is hard and you guys are kind of in the middle of it. You're like the bridge, right, between the two worlds. So, I mean, if you were to give advice out there for those who might be in more of an established healthcare organization, other health plans, or even in pharma companies, we talk to a lot of folks from pharma that are on innovation teams that are trying to bring, different innovations into the org. What would you say for those who are like, maybe new to getting their world rocked by technology or new to seeing some of these different approaches via startups? Like, what would your advice be for those healthcare incumbents?
Yeah. Ironically, I'd say don't let I'll call it eye candy, get in the way of the reality of it because a lot of these startups are very, especially entrepreneurs, are passionate. They can sell ice to Eskimos in many cases. That's what they've learned how to do. They're in the process of raising capital and they're hungry. And that's a good thing, but a lot of times they can oversell and underdeliver. So, I would encourage, this is where, the healthcare industry is really good. They know how to build evidence-based models. Ask the startups to go out and, just prove that they can do what they can do. Yeah. Obviously those pilots need to be at maybe a little different scale than healthcare organizations are used to. But at least, make sure the startups have some traction. They have a good leadership team. They've got, a strong set of advisors or investors behind them, even if they're early stage.
Cool. Kirstie, thank you so much for talking to us. It's so exciting to see the stuff that's going to come out of the GuideWell Innovation, the GuideWell Innovation Center in Orlando. So we look forward to catching up with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'm Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. Thanks so much for joining us.